As we carry that tune and those words into our meditation, I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable. Let the seat completely support you as you take in some deep breaths and settle in. Breathing in and breathing out that beautiful breath of God that breathes you. We come into this time of stillness. We come into this time of oneness. And with each breath, let go of any tension, any distractions, any thoughts that take you out of this now perfect moment. Now silently repeat to yourself, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still. It is in this moment of stillness that we quiet our minds and open ourselves to the truth of our being. The truth that the divine is not something outside of us, but it resides in us, as us, and through us, always. We remember that the power of God is not some distant, far away. God resides in now, in the present, in us. God is a force that lives within our being, and the I am is the essence of our true nature. Be still and know. Know not just in your mind, but in your heart, in the deep sanctity of your soul, that inner certainty that you are divine. You are made in the image and the likeness of God. There is no separation. There can be no separation. God is the constant, the unchanging reality that supports and sustains you in every single moment. I am God. These words are so powerful. They're a powerful declaration of the unity of the divinity within us. The I am is the life force within you, the love that flows through you, that you are, the wisdom that guides you. There is nothing that is separate. You are an expression of the divine, here and now, fully alive within the creative potential of the universe. It is in this stillness, in this peace within us, where we find our clarity, where we remember exactly who we are, where we can connect with our highest truth. In stillness, we remember we are not alone. We take these words now into the silence. We claim this truth today. I am still. I am divine. I am guided by the wisdom of the universe. I trust the presence of God in every moment. Now take another deep breath in, letting the peace of this truth settle into your heart as we let that go. Whenever you're ready, just open your beautiful eyes. This is a very special weekend because we are celebrating and honoring our veterans. And I'm opening today with a story about a veteran that I read in the newspaper this morning. So I want to acknowledge, if you are a veteran of any branch of the military service, would you please stand and let us give you a round of applause? All right, don't sit down yet. Branch of service, Navy, Air Force and Army, Marines, Air Force, Marines. Happy birthday! Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your service. I was so touched by this story in the newspaper that I changed everything I was going to do. I have to share this story with you. So this 99-year-old gentleman, he's a World War II veteran. His name is Robert Fallhaber. They show a picture of him in the newspaper, and he's reading his 80-year-old journal from when he was in the Navy on the USS, what was he on? Detroit. And he just happened to be there when the Japanese surrendered. He witnessed that. Now, normally he was way down below because he was like a machinist, and he worked on keeping the water fresh for the people that were living on the ship. So he got to come up to the top and watch the signing of that decree. And so it was a very, very special time for him. Now, his mom didn't really want him to go. He joined when he was 17 because his two older brothers had already gone into the service, and he didn't want to be left behind, but she let her baby go, and he joined and was very successful in the Navy. He had a career. He got out. He got married. He married his high school sweetheart. They had 2 daughters. He had a wonderful life, and he tells this story about how that ship was decommissioned at the point at which it was no longer going to be used, and they took, an American company bought that ship and refurbished parts and put them in Ford cars. So anybody that bought a Ford car after this particular period of time has a piece of that USS Detroit in them. I thought that was just a fascinating thing. But what I want to share with you is he is now widowed. His wife has gone on, and he is about to have his 100th birthday. But he had 3 pieces of advice that I wanted to share with you because I thought it was so precious. He said, number 1, love your neighbor. Number 2, keep joy in your heart. Great advice, right? And number 3, listen to what God has to say, and you will never walk alone. I just absolutely love that. I think he has had this long life because he's known how to detach and move into the next experience of his living. So anyway, I wanted to share that story with you. We have been looking at, for this month, our theme is about comfort. And so we are looking for ways to find that comfort in whatever ways that we can find it. And I found comfort in his 3 pieces of advice. So let's say our affirmation together. My heart is comforted. My faith is deepened. It seems to me like it's a great focus for us to look at comfort in November. Because of, going through 2 hurricanes, we still are seeing lots of damage. I was in Punta Gorda for Martha Beretta's event yesterday. It was wonderful. And Friday, was it Friday? It was Friday afternoon. And noticed still piles of debris everywhere, some of our favorite restaurants that have yet to open up. So we've kind of been in this place of transition. Then we went through the election and all of that stuff that's been going on. So wherever you find your comfort is where we want to share that. So I found comfort in that poem that I read you earlier. There's a lot of us that have been finding comfort in our email and on Facebook, people sharing stories and poems and things and even music. I've found some real relief in that. Someone, I think it was Reverend Mark Fuss, shared Brene Brown's post about what helps us to have more comfort, and I'd never heard this term before, micro-dosing hope. Don't you love that? Just finding little windows, little snippets, things that raise you up. And I just, that caught on to me. And I was like, microdose hope. So however we can do that for ourselves and for other people is really important, because we're all energy. We are all energy. And so what we have to do is, when we're starting to feel a little sad or whatever, we dig down deep, right? And we look for that next best feeling, because it's all about raising our vibration. We want to be that light that our world needs, and we have to do that by being that first and foremost. So we're celebrating 100 years of Daily Word, and I found what I think is a good one for today. It's from May 21st, 1980. And the affirmation is, I relax, I let go, I let God do his perfect work through me. It says, sometimes we may come to the place where we do not know what to do or which way to turn. We may feel burdened by the thought that the solving of some problem or situation is all up to us. When we depend on our personal powers alone, we may not feel equal to the problem that life poses us. We need to remember that beyond our personal powers and capabilities is the spiritual power that is ours from God. It is a great relief to realize that it is not all up to us, that God is the one presence and the one power ever working through us and through all that concerns us, to adjust, to bless, and to make all things right. We are kept in perfect peace in mind and body as we give over our doubts and fears to God, as we let go and let him do his perfect work through us. All is working out in perfect ways for all concerned. That gave me comfort to read those words, and I hope you like it as well. The scripture from that particular day, May 21st, 1980, is from John 14, verse 10, and it says, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does his work. So that's what we're talking about, is taking comfort in that scripture. Reminds me of the indwelling spirit, the power, the presence of God. It's a reminder that there's never any separation, and that by seeking consciously to live the way that Christ taught, to live from that Christed beingness within us, is what makes us be the light for other people. That's what helps us to be that truth of who we are. And so we can make our work a direct means of establishing our identity with the God within us. Our power and strength is already here. We just have to claim it. We have to live from it. We have to know who we work. And our work is our faithful expression of that animating Spirit of God that is always in us. So we strive to live our lives from that Christ Spirit within that Jesus taught us in the New Testament. So we've been studying this is our 6th week now of the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And so this law, the law of detachment, it can be a little tricky for some people. It's the dictionary defines it as a state of being objective or aloof. Detachment, you see, is the process of letting go or being flexible in achieving what it is that you want. It allows you to find release from frustration and disappointment, which we bring on ourselves because we're attaching an outcome that we want to see happen in something that we're wanting to, create from our own personal will or our ego. And so Deepak, he begins this chapter and he tells us that in order to acquire anything in the physical universe, we have to first relinquish our attachment to it. Now, that feels a little counterproductive, doesn't it? We have to let go of what we want, but we have something what we want to manifest. And so we have to keep that intention and that desire that we talked about last week. We have to keep that in our focus, but we can't try too hard. And this is easier said than done, but it's absolutely necessary because emotional attachment leads to pain, anxiety, drama, stress, suffering, and the majority of our negative thoughts because we want something, but we want it the way we want it, right? We want God to do it this way instead of to allow it to unfold, to just hold the vision of that which we desire and know that it's coming. So he explains that there's tremendous power in letting go of attachment to the result because there's a conviction of belief in the power of the true self of who you are. I think that's what Robert was talking about in his 3 things about listen to God, trust that inner voice within you, and then allow your highest and best to unfold. By not investing in a specific outcome, you see, you smooth the way for God's plan to reveal itself in the right and perfect way and more easily and quickly than if you had tried to make something happen. So it's minus the struggle. When you use this law of detachment, you don't struggle for things, you allow it. So the concept of detachment and detaching, this is not a new thing. This has been in many religions over centuries of time. In fact, if you think back to it, in 500 BC, the Buddha shared his very profound idea that the root of suffering is attachment. That's where it all begins. And it might sound like detachment means something like indifference or not caring or becoming emotionally vacant, but that's not it at all. The reality is that true detachment means you put the focus back on what really matters. True detachment means that even though you want something, you can live happily without it, right? To detach from the outcome, you must accept that what you want might not happen exactly like you see it in your mind or like you feel like it should happen for you. In general, usually it's better when you let go and allow Spirit to do its mighty work in and through you. You are aware that there are elements outside of your control. You know this. You know that things happen and it changes things. And you know that you'll be okay no matter what shows up, right? That's because we're eternal beings and we're here to learn these lessons. We become more flexible and allowing when we use these principles that we've been talking about for the last 6 weeks. You see, attachment is really fear-based. It's coming from lack mentality, actually. It means that you're insecure about trusting the truth, about entrusting your true self. You're not believing that you have within you the presence and the power of God to create that which your heart desires whenever you are using the principles and the laws and the spiritual practices that you know. So lack thinking, attachment to money is a sign of insecurity too. Deepak says those who seek security chase it for a lifetime and never get it. Never get it. Running after that security, you know? That attachment is a natural human emotion. When we try our best to control an outcome of a situation or a relationship or a result like we want it to be, we become an impediment, actually, to what it is that we want to have happen, simply because we want it too much. And we want it the way we want it. So attachment to the desired outcome can start to cause failure and a lack of enjoyment in everyday life. We literally block the ease with which the universe wants to bring to you that which your heart desires, that natural flow that would come because we're trying too hard, right? Tell me, there isn't anybody in here who hasn't like obsessed about something that they want to have happen sometime in your life, and you had it all planned out, how it was going to unfold, right? And you knew exactly, and you saw it, right? I mean, it happens all the time. This is the human part of us. And, you know, Spirit is always tapping and wanting us to have the desires of our heart. But then we get involved and we try to control it. We try to control it. We try to make it be the way we think it should be, instead of like going, let's just see what the universe has planned for me. Trust and allow and let go. So our beloved Emily Cady in Lessons in Truth says this: you may make desires manifest in a sweeter, stronger, less selfish life when you know once and forever that you are not seeking God. God is seeking you. You need not worry, she says. You need not be anxious. You need not strive. You only let it. I love that word. 3 little letters. You let it. She said, learn how to let it. We learn to wait, each one of us, for that inner revelation of truth as we go within and we listen. So as I was preparing for this week's lesson, in fact, it was when I was on the way to Martha's thing on Friday, I had the Bob Sima cassette. CD, sorry. Flashback. I had the CD in my car, and it was playing No Mud, No Lotus. And the words of that song are just fabulous. You can't have a lotus if you don't have the mud, right? And so the words of that song are, everything you go through, what? Grows you. Everything you go through goes through. Grows you, right? Everything you go through grows you. And so if you don't think that it's not unfolding the exact way it should, it is. Everything, even those things we don't like, they're growing us, aren't they? They're growing us in spirit. They're growing us in learning. There's something there for us. So when it turns out differently than you might expect, we're still learning. So Deepak says, so we need to get into this mindset, which I say is principle 1, which is God is all there is, and principle 2, we are divine. We get into that trusting that divine order unfolds for our highest and best. And then Deepak talks about that we have to live in uncertainty, because it's the fertile ground for pure creativity, that not knowing exactly how something is going to unfold. And he says there's freedom in that. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I'm a planner. I know in advance how things are going to, I'm a planner. I don't leave it to chance, right? Well, I'm telling you, those of you that don't like surprises, you're not going to like living the law of detachment, because you have to be in uncertainty. Where's the fun in knowing exactly how it's going to turn out, right? The fun is in letting it come and letting it be more magnificent than you ever imagined before. He says, without uncertainty and the unknown, life is just the stale repetition of outworn memories. You know what it is? We get in that rut that Joe Dispenza talks about. We just live in the old memories. We're just living the old truth. We're just living the way we used to live. So without the mystery of uncertainty, we're repeating those old patterns in our history over and over again. And what? Not getting any different results, ever. Not getting any different results. Not progressing. We live in a creative universe, and we want to allow infinite possibilities. So I ran across this article. There's this guy on the internet I found. His name is Daniel Midson Short, and he actually wrote an article, The Subtle Art of Detachment. And he has 4 suggestions for how we can reduce this. You ready? 4 quick ones. Number 1, pretty simple. Realize you don't need a whole lot. You don't need very much. Air, water, food, sleep. Everything else is a bonus, right? You don't need. So be grateful for what you already have in your life. Number 2, learn to focus on the process and your skills. And so he gives an example. I wanted to go speak. I wanted to speak at larger groups. So instead of going around and focusing on trying to get more gigs, he focused on becoming a better speaker. And you know what? The gigs started coming to him. Larger audiences, bigger crowds. So, number 3, you don't wait for results to be happy. You don't say, okay, when I make that $1 million, then I can retire. When this happens, when my kids go off to college, then I can be happy. Or when I hit retirement, then I can be happy. It doesn't work that way. You have to enjoy the journey and everything that you're learning, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then you'll attract more happiness to you because you're being happy. Number 4, detachment is a practice. Like your other spiritual practices, you have to use it. You have to use it. You have to do it. It will help you along your path, but you must use it. When you learn how to practice detachment, you will find that you are better able to set boundaries, reduce emotional attachment, and live in a much more healthy way. All right, enough preaching, time for a joke. So this man's telling a story. He's going to visit his grown son. He's at his son's house. He's sitting in the living room. He's feeling a bit bored, gets up, goes in the kitchen, finds his son, and says, "Have you got a newspaper?" And his son laughs and he says, "Pop, this is the modern age. We read it online. We don't subscribe to the newspaper." So he hands him his tablet. And so the man goes back into the living room, and a little time goes by, and the son comes back in, and he said, so Pop, how did you like using that tablet? And he said, "Well, I'll tell you this." He said, "It's really good. That fly didn't stand a chance." There's other uses for the newspaper, it seems. So I want to close today with a paragraph right from Deepak's book that you're all going to read in your small groups this week. And I'm so grateful that you're having such a wonderful time in your small groups. Relinquish your attachment to the known, step into the unknown, and you will step into a field of all possibilities. In your willingness to step into the unknown, you will have the wisdom of uncertainty factored in. This means in every moment of your life, you will have excitement, adventure, mystery. You will experience the fun of life, the magic, the celebration, the exhilaration, and the exaltation of your own spirit. And that's the way it truly is. God bless. Thank you. Now is the time in our service when we get to give from our blessings into this beloved community. So I invite you to take your gifts in your hand, or if you have used PayPal or Breeze or the QR code, whatever you're using to get the funds in, we're so very grateful for all the blessings of the gifts. So here we go together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so.